The Grand Concord Station floated quietly in the heart of the galaxy. Its metal walls shone under the light of nearby stars, and its docking bays were crowded with ships of every shape and size. Alien delegates moved along the corridors with purpose. Some whispered in low tones, some scanned data tablets, and some stared at the large viewing windows. All of them knew one thing: humans have fought a long war, and most believed the humans were finally finished. Counselor Varix, an insectoid with shining green eyes and thin, segmented limbs, paced the central chamber. He clicked his mandibles nervously. Finally, he muttered to himself. Finally, they are finished. Their fleets are shattered. Their colonies are weak. They will obey our rules now. Round him, other alien counselors nodded. Some were amphibious, their slimy skin glinting. Others were small and furry, shaking their heads with worry. None of them could fully admit it, but they all feared humans. Varix thought humans were dangerous. Now, he believed he had the upper hand. The chamber doors opened with a hiss. A group of humans entered, calm and collected. At the front walked Evelyn Grant. She was tall, with gray streaks in her hair and a face lined from years of battle and negotiation. Her eyes were sharp and steady. Behind her walked Marcus Hale, a broad-shouldered man with a strong jaw. He had been a Navy officer, and now he was the human security advisor. Together, they looked like ordinary people, but the room felt tension as soon as they entered. Varix's mandibles clicked. "Well, humans," he said, trying to sound casual, "we expected you to accept the Concord's terms. You are defeated. You have no choice." Evelyn lifted her chin. "We are not here to ask for permission. We are here to announce our decision." The counselors murmured. Some stopped in surprise. Marcus's gaze swept the room. He did not look angry or proud. He looked tired, and there was a weight in his eyes that told the room he had seen too much war. Evelyn began her speech. Her voice was calm but carried across the chamber. "For decades, humanity has been part of the Concord. We have answered distress calls, defended colonies, and faced enemies you would not dare approach. We have done this even when treated with suspicion, even when told we were a problem to manage rather than partners to trust. We are done." The chamber was silent. Counselors could not believe what they heard. Marcus stepped forward. "We will no longer serve under Concord oversight. We will not be monitored. We will not follow orders that treat us as a threat rather than an ally. Humanity is withdrawing from the Concord effective immediately." Gasps echoed around the room. Some alien delegates whispered to each other. Some openly shook their heads in disbelief. "Withdraw?" Varix clicked. "Do you understand what you are saying? Your fleets will be disbanded. Your colonies left alone. You have no allies left?" Evelyn's voice remained steady. "We understand perfectly. We are not asking for approval. We are giving notice. Humanity will move beyond the Concord, and we will no longer be part of your politics or conflicts. We leave so that we are not forced to serve as pawns while being distrusted." Dr. Lyra, a small aquatic counselor, spoke next. But who will defend the outer sectors? Who will maintain patrols? Who will keep the pirates away?" Evelyn did not answer immediately. She looked at Marcus, who nodded slightly. "The Concord must answer for itself," she said. "We have done our part for centuries. We cannot be everywhere, and we will no longer be asked to do so without respect or trust. You will see soon enough what happens without us." The human delegation then presented official documents. These were formal, legal notices. They listed all of humanity's resignations, positions on the Concord Council, control over trade, and oversight of fleets. Every colony formerly under human protection was declared off limits. The documents were clear. The humans were leaving completely. A murmur went through the chamber. Varix's limbs clicked faster. "This is impossible," he said. "No species has ever done this. You will destroy yourselves." Evelyn shook her head slowly. "We will not destroy ourselves. We will live by our own rules. If chaos comes, it is not our fault. It is yours if you cannot handle it," Marcus added, "once humanity leaves. We will not intervene to fix what breaks. That is your responsibility now." The counselors could not speak. Silence filled the chamber as human security bots escorted Evelyn and Marcus from the room. Every eye in the room followed them. Some were afraid. Some were angry. Some were simply confused. Later, on the viewing deck of the Grand Concord station, a crowd of aliens and humans gathered to watch the departure of the human fleet. The Terran flagship, Horizon Dawn, gleamed like a silver arrow among the other vessels. Hundreds of smaller human ships formed round it, ready to leave the Concord forever. Marcus stood near the observation window, arms crossed. His eyes traced the stars beyond the station. "It feels strange," he said quietly. Evelyn joined him. "It feels right," she replied. "We have fought long enough. We have bled enough. It is time for humanity to go where we are respected and where we can choose our own battles." A group of young human cadets stood nearby, nervous but determined. They had grown up hearing stories of Concord politics, of alien suspicions, and of wars where humans often saved species that never thanked them. Now, they would sail into unknown space. The thought made some nervous, but Evelyn's calm presence steadied them. As the Horizon Dawn and its convoy activated the gate coordinates, bright ripples of energy spread across space. The massive fleet disappeared from the station's sensors, leaving behind quiet corridors and empty docks. Some aliens cheered softly, thinking they were free from human interference. Others felt a cold sense of unease, as if a protective wall had just vanished. Weeks passed after the human departure. The Concord Council tried to reorganize the fleets and fill gaps left by the humans. Varix spoke proudly, "We will manage." Humanity was gone, but we are stronger for it. But the first signs of trouble soon appeared. Border sectors once patrolled by human ships reported increased pirate activity. Small colonies, once defended with precision by human fleets, began sending distress calls. Some were ignored. Others arrived too late. Dr. Lyra moved quietly in the council halls. She watched the reports coming and felt a cold dread. They were the ones the monsters feared, she whispered to herself. She remembered the human fleets that had saved her home sector years ago. Now, without them, the universe seemed more dangerous. Even within the council, cracks began to appear. Some species admitted privately that humans had been more than just soldiers. They had been protectors, planners, and problem solvers in ways the Concord could not match. Others, like Varix, doubled down on pride, insisting that the Concord could survive without them. The part ends as a quiet tension spreads across the galaxy. The humans had left not in defeat, but in choice. They had shown that strength was not just in weapons, but in knowing when to step back and when to act. And in their absence, the first whispers of chaos began to stir across the stars. In sectors that had once been safe, the shadows of what was to come moved slowly, waiting for the wall of humanity to disappear completely. The day humanity walked away, the galaxy learned something new. Those who thought humans were done had been wrong, and the consequences of their absence would soon be seen. Here is part 2 of the story, written in simple and basic English, third-person style. Approximately 1,400 words. The galaxy felt different after the humans left. For years, the human fleets had patrolled dangerous sectors, guarded trade routes, and kept peace in areas no other species dared enter. Now, without them, everything began to change. Ships that had once been safe no longer had protection, and space routes became more dangerous with every passing day. In the Redfield system, a small frontier colony lay under the light of a dying star. Its population was mostly miners and farmers. They had relied on human patrols for protection from raiders, pirates, and rogue mercenaries. When the humans left, the colony's defenses were quickly tested. One morning, sensors picked up a fleet of fast, armed ships approaching the system. The colony alarmed immediately, but the Concord fleet responsible for nearby defense had not arrived yet. Oliver Brooks, a merchant captain, was moving his cargo ships through one of the main routes that humans had once patrolled. He had heard rumors of rising pirate activity, but did not believe it would affect him. He was wrong. As his convoy entered a narrow sector, several ships emerged from behind asteroids. They attacked without warning. Oliver's ships tried to maneuver, but without human escort, the pirates had an advantage. They destroyed several ships before Concord reinforcements could respond. Oliver barely escaped with his life, and his cargo was lost. Back at the Concord Council, panic began to grow. Reports from other sectors came in, each worse than the last. Systems that had been peaceful for centuries now faced raids and attacks. Pirates, once afraid of human response, were bold and aggressive. The counselors argued heatedly over how to respond. Varix paced the council chamber. "Humanity should have stayed," he hissed. "We would have managed this without them. Now it is chaos. But we cannot admit it. We must show strength." Dr. Lyra, the aquatic counselor, shook her head. "We cannot ignore the truth, Varix. The humans were not just soldiers. They were planners, problem solvers, protectors. They carried burdens we never understood. Now we are facing the consequences of their absence." Varix clicked his mandibles in frustration. "We have our fleets. We have our strategies. We will survive without humans. Meanwhile, the Unity, an enemy bloc that humans had fought for decades, noticed the human absence immediately. Their scouts moved through the outer borders, testing weak defenses. Systems that humans had once shielded were now vulnerable. The Unity struck with fast raids, and colonies that had depended on human defense fell quickly. The Concord fleets were slow to respond. The strategies they relied on had always included human creativity, and without it, the fleet movements were predictable and easy to counter. In one border sector, a small planet called Clarion was under attack. The Concord sent a mixed fleet, but the commanders hesitated. The humans had once made quick, risky decisions that often turned the tide of battle. Now, without them, the fleet followed careful, slow plans approved by the Council. The result was disaster. The planet's defense grids were bypassed, colonies were burned, and the fleet suffered heavy losses. The colonists were left terrified, and the Concord leadership received reports of their failure. Back on Redfield, the survivors tried to rebuild. Oliver Brooks met with other merchants to discuss how trade routes had changed. They needed human escorts, but none were coming. The pirates had adapted quickly, using tactics learned from old human training videos. They had become crueler and more unpredictable. Oliver felt helpless. He had seen humans in action once, and he knew the difference between being protected and being on your own. Now, there was no safety net. The Concord Council attempted to organize relief efforts, but their systems began to fail in unexpected ways. Human engineers had maintained critical infrastructure, even in remote areas. Some wormhole gates became unstable without regular human maintenance. Supplies meant for medical clinics were delayed, and key colonies went without updates for months. Even when Concord fleets attempted to respond, they found their own technology insufficient. Machines that humans had left behind required updates that were now inaccessible. Council meetings became more chaotic. Varix accused others of weakness, blaming them for the crises. "It is not our fault that humans left. We are strong enough to manage without them," Dr. Lyra countered firmly. "This is not about strength or weakness. We depended on humans, yes, but not because we could not defend ourselves. We depended on their willingness to act where others would not. The galaxy is changing, and we must learn quickly, or more systems will fall." Some counselors began to whisper that humans had left intentionally, planning for this exact scenario. They suggested that humanity wanted the Concord to experience the consequences of their own mistakes. Others dismissed the idea as paranoia. Still, the thought made many uneasy. Had the humans left just to watch and test them from afar? In the Merrick Belt, a region humans had always patrolled, strange incidents began to appear. Ships vanished without warning. Logs from stations ended mid-sentence. Survivors spoke of seeing shadow-like entities, moving too fast to be understood. They had never appeared before humans left. The presence of these strange beings added a new layer of fear to the galaxy already destabilized by human absence. Dr. Lyra studied the reports carefully. She realized humans had been more than just protectors of order. They had held back threats that no other species could face. She accessed old archives of human intelligence, hoping to find clues. Some records were open, some locked. She discovered references to containment protocols and shadow breach events. Humans had faced unknown dangers, controlling them where no one else dared. Now, those protections were gone, while the Concorde struggled with these new threats. The Unity and pirates exploited every opportunity. Trade routes collapsed under attacks. Small colonies were abandoned. Some systems tried to organize their own defense, but without human strategies. The attempts were largely ineffective. Even the strongest fleets faced losses they could not recover from quickly. In Redfield, Oliver Brooks listened to messages from other sectors. Every story sounded worse than the last. He remembered the human ships that had protected these routes for years. Ships that acted with speed and bravery beyond ordinary calculations. Now he understood the gap humans had left behind. Without them, space was a much more dangerous place. Within the council, debate turned to desperation. Some argued they must attempt to contact humans, to ask for guidance or assistance. Pride and fear of appearing weak prevented others from agreeing. The Concorde was used to relying on humans for help, but now they had to face a reality where humans would not intervene. The decision weighed heavily on all of them. In human-controlled regions far from the Concorde, Evelyn Grant and Marcus Hale monitored reports from the outer sectors. They did not interfere, but they watched carefully. The humans had prepared for this, leaving information and instructions for those willing to adapt. But they did not plan to return and fight. They wanted the Concorde to see the consequences of leaving their own responsibilities behind. It was a test, and the results were unfolding exactly as humanity had anticipated. Reports from the frontier continued to worsen. Colonies sent messages of fear and desperation. Trade fleets were attacked. Communications were lost in multiple sectors. For the first time, the Concorde realized how much the humans had carried on their shoulders, quietly solving problems that no one else wanted to face. Dr. Lyra addressed the council once again. "We are not ready for this. We cannot continue as we have. We must learn from what humanity left behind. We must understand their methods and adapt quickly. If we do not, more sectors will fall, and the galaxy will descend into chaos." Varix clicked his mandibles angrily. "We will survive. We do not need humans. Their time is over." But even as he said it, the reports of destruction kept coming. Redfield was just the beginning. Other colonies were being attacked. Pirate fleets had grown bolder. The Unity struck with precision that humans had once predicted and countered effortlessly. It was clear that without humans, the galaxy was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Oliver Brooks, now trapped in a damaged cargo ship, reflected on everything he had seen. Humans had done more than fight battles. They had built systems of protection, trained fleets, and maintained order in ways others could not even understand. The Concorde had assumed that humans were gone, that their absence would make things easier. But instead it had made space unpredictable and deadly. As weeks turned into months, the Concorde struggled to respond. Fleets were constantly in motion, trying to cover gaps humans had once managed. Colonies begged for help. Pirate activity increased daily. Dr. Lyra realized that the humans' departure had created a chain reaction, one that would continue until the Concorde learned to act with the same courage and speed that humans had once displayed. She sat quietly in her chambers, looking at the holo maps of sectors under attack. The thought haunted her. The humans were gone, not because they were defeated, but because they chose to leave. And now the galaxy had to face the chaos that their absence created. The humans had taught them a lesson without ever firing a shot. Strength alone was not enough. Strategy, courage, and willingness to act made the difference. Here is part 3 of the story, written in simple and basic English, third-person style. Approximately 1,400 words, the galaxy grew darker with each passing week. Without the humans, sectors that had once been calm and secure were now filled with fear. Reports of strange events came from remote systems. Ships disappeared without warning, stations went silent, and some pilots described seeing forms that moved like shadows, faster than the eye could follow. No one had seen these creatures before humans left. The humans had always kept them away, quietly and efficiently, without telling the Concorde the full truth. In the Merrick Belt, a patrol cruiser called the Sentinel entered a dark region of space. The crew were on edge. They had heard the stories of vanished ships, strange objects, and the rumors of unknown predators. Lieutenant Daniel Ross, a young officer, gripped the controls tightly. "Keep your eyes open," he warned the crew. "We do not know what we are walking into." They scanned the sector. Nothing appeared on the sensors at first, then faint signals began to flicker. Unsteady and confusing. Shadows stretched across the screens. Suddenly, the ship shuddered as if a giant hand had pushed it. Alarms rang. Crew members scrambled to their stations. One of the sensors reported a dark shape moving through space, twisting gravity fields around it. It was unlike anything in the Concord databases. In another region, a small research station that had once been protected by humans went offline. No distress calls came from the station. Automated repair drones activated but were quickly destroyed. An escape pod later drifted into Concord territory. Inside was a single survivor, trembling and barely able to speak. They are coming," the survivor whispered. "Shadows everywhere. Weapons passed through them, like mist." Dr. Lyra reviewed these reports with horror. She realized that humans had been protecting the galaxy from dangers that no one else understood. Their fleets, their strategies, and their courage had kept these threats at bay. Now the Concord faced them without guidance. The council became chaotic. Varix tried to maintain order. "We are strong. We have our fleets. We will fight," he shouted. But his words sounded hollow as reports of shadow-like attacks spread. Other counselors argued that they must find humanity again and asked for advice. But pride and fear held them back. No one wanted to admit that they had relied on humans more than they realized. Meanwhile, Oliver Brooks, the merchant captain, experienced the dangers firsthand. He was traveling through a previously safe sector when a massive shadow appeared. His ship's shields flickered and failed. He felt a cold dread as the dark shape passed through the hull. It moved like liquid, ignoring normal weapons. He barely escaped, taking heavy damage to his ship and cargo. The pirates who had been bold without humans now seemed small compared to this threat. Dr. Lyra accessed old human intelligence files, hoping to find answers. She discovered references to containment protocols and shadow breach events. Humans had faced these creatures before, containing them with advanced tactics, gravity traps, and rapid response teams. She realized that humans had never told the Concord everything. They had kept dangerous knowledge to themselves, managing the threats alone. The council debated furiously. Some wanted to copy human methods. Others feared becoming too similar to humans, whom they had always seen as reckless. Yet the attacks continued, growing bolder and more destructive. Trade hubs, research stations, and small colonies fell. Every day brought more reports of losses. In the Redfield system, survivors worked to rebuild. Farmers repaired broken equipment, miners repaired tunnels, and everyone waited for Concord fleets that might never come in time. Oliver Brooks joined the effort, sharing his experience in trying to organize defenses, but without human strategies. Every effort seemed slow and uncertain. Dr. Lyra gathered a team to study the human archives in detail. They found simulations, recordings, and tactical guides humans had left behind. The humans had trained crews to respond to attacks no one else could face, to predict enemy moves with incredible speed, and to act boldly when others would hesitate. Watching these recordings, Lyra realized the scale of what humans had achieved. They had not just fought battles, they had controlled threats that others could not even measure. Even Varix had to acknowledge that something was happening that no one could stop alone. The shadow attacks reached sectors the humans had once protected directly. Ships vanished in minutes. Colonies were abandoned. Supplies were destroyed. The Concord fleets tried to adapt, but they're slow. Bureaucratic methods failed against unpredictable threats. In one incident, a patrol fleet entered a sector to respond to a distress call. The ships moved according to the standard protocols, scanning and firing at threats. Then the shadows appeared. The ship's weapons passed through the creatures as if they were not solid. Panic erupted. Fleets that had been trained for decades could not cope. One vessel was torn apart within moments. Survivors fled in escape pods, shaking and terrified. Dr. Lyra realized that the Concord could survive only if they learned to act like humans. But in their own way, She began organizing teams to study the human tactics and modify them for their species. Some species resisted, unwilling to change their style. Others eagerly trained, seeing no other choice. Slowly, small pockets of defense began to form, ready to face the unknown threats. Meanwhile, in human space, Evelyn Grant and Marcus Hale watched quietly. They had anticipated that the Concorde would struggle. Their departure had been planned carefully, leaving behind knowledge and tools for those willing to adapt. Humans did not interfere directly. They only observed, knowing that the galaxy would have to grow stronger on its own. The shadow attacks escalated. Entire sectors became isolated. Communication lines were cut. Trade collapsed in affected areas. Panic spread across worlds. Citizens who had once relied on humans realized the full extent of their absence. Humans had not left out of fear or weakness, they had left to allow the galaxy to see the consequences of dependence and inaction. In a council meeting, Dr. Lyra stood before the remaining leaders. "We cannot continue as we have," she said. "We must learn from what humans left behind. Their methods, their courage, their willingness to act quickly and decisively, these are what kept the galaxy safe. Without them, we face collapse. We must change, or more colonies will be lost." Varix growled in frustration. "We do not need humans. We are capable," he said, but the unease in his voice betrayed him. The reports continued to pile up. Ships were destroyed, colonies burned, and unknown threats moved through space unchecked. In the sectors closest to human space, Concorde forces discovered the remnants of human monitoring stations. Automated drones and defenses still function, warning off any who came too close. Daniel Ross, studying these stations, realized that the humans had created systems to teach and guide, but only for those willing to observe and learn. It was a test, and many had failed. Meanwhile, scattered groups of pilots and survivors began sharing their knowledge. Some copied human techniques, others adapted them in small ways. Slowly, small victories appeared. A patrol that had been ambushed by shadows used modified gravity traps to push the creatures away. It was not perfect, but it worked. Hope began to return to the galaxy, however faint. Dr. Lyra watched these events carefully. She understood that humans had not abandoned the Concorde out of hatred. They had left so the galaxy could grow, face challenges, and learn. The Concorde had been dependent, and that dependence had created weakness. Now, without humans, they were forced to grow or fail. Oliver Brooks, having survived his attacks, worked tirelessly to help rebuild trade and organize defenses. He remembered how humans had acted in similar situations boldly, creatively, and with courage. He tried to pass this knowledge to others, though they struggled to understand. Without humans present, the galaxy was learning hard lessons about risk, responsibility, and action. The shadows moved steadily across the sectors. The Concorde fleets were stretched thin. Every decision counted. Every delay could mean another system lost. It was a dangerous time, but it was also a time of learning. Those who survived would gain skills and experience they would never have had if humans had remained to do the work for them. Dr. Lyra compiled all the reports she could find, creating a map of shadow activity and a training plan for fleets willing to learn from humans. The plan emphasized bold actions, fast decisions, and willingness to face dangers directly. She sent copies to every fleet willing to try. Some species embraced the training eagerly. Others resisted, clinging to old methods. Yet all began to see that without change, the Concorde could not survive. The human departure had not caused the chaos. Humans had only removed the wall that had kept it back. Now the galaxy faced the reality of its own limitations. In the end, Part 3 closes with the understanding that humans had not simply left. They had given the Concorde a chance to grow. Chaos was spreading, but lessons were being learned. Fleets began to adapt. Colonies fought back. Trade routes slowly reopened. And somewhere in the darkness, the humans watched quietly, knowing that the galaxy would either rise to the challenge or fall. The shadow threats continued, but the seeds of growth had been planted. The galaxy would never be the same. Without humans, everything was harder, more dangerous, and more unpredictable.